Brad, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. No updates here.
There's some people in the chat too. Whoa!
Oh.
Looky. Look what the cat brought in, dragged in. The only Scarif Scuttlebutt co-host that hasn't blocked me. Brad, and I appreciate that.
You're batting 500. Or no, maybe it's no. What about the other one? There's the other one that we had for 5 minutes too.
No.
Anyway, I would never block you.
Excellent. How you doing, man?
It's Star Wars Day.
It's Star Wars Day. Happy Star Wars Day to everybody.
And I already started drinking, so it's good.
Oh, yeah. And I see Captain Recht is in the chat. I'd like to say that tonight's episode has been sponsored by Cerveza Cristal. It's actually Co-Vista. And it's funny because the label says Mexican style lager, whatever that means.
Sure.
We never get political on this show, but Brad and I only have one message tonight. Palpatine Vader 2024.
Does yours have the same byline underneath it?
It's
usually this.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun. I know some people were questioning our choice of words. Actual Star Wars Day, and I told them to go Google it.
They were actually confused.
Yeah, they were actually confused. They're like, "Wait a minute! It's May 4th. It's Star Wars Day."
Get out of here!
And I had to go tell them to Google it.
Holy crap!
Yeah, but we got. Yeah, exactly. Well, we've got a really great show, and here at the Red 5 Network, we there's a lot happening tonight.
Yeah, we're gonna have a good time.
We're gonna have a good time. We're gonna be talking about Star Wars, the original movie, why it has sticking power. We've got a couple of guests backstage that we're gonna bring out in a few minutes. We love to talk Star Wars, and unbeknownst to our significant others, we're still talking about it almost 50 years later. But hey,
that's
it
their
is
problem.
What it is. That's their problem. Exactly. Let's see who's in the chat. Oh, you got some Grogu goldfish. Wow.
Yeah,
that's dedication. Let's see. A quick hello to Skywalker's Academy. He was first. Sorry, Megan. Megan is also in the chat. Thank you very much, Megan. Spencer, the Dingus Den. And he's going to be on Red 5 reading the Red 5 Network show later on tonight. So as soon as we are done, take a little bathroom break and then head on over to the Red 5 Network channel to check out Nicole and Spencer from the Red 5 reading group. That's a lot of fun, eh?
How much time do we have to yap? When do we need to stop talking?
Soon. Dang, Dave Richards is in the chat.
It's good to see you, Dave.
Good to see you. And I mentioned Captain Recht. Hello there. Thank you very much. Red 5 Tavern. Hey, Red 5 Tavern. I said, hey, Red 5 Tavern. Ubaldo, what's happening? Happy Star Wars Day to all of our friends. And hey, Crusher Combo. A little cross-pollination here, a little Star Trek talk as well. But we love all the franchises with the word star in it, don't we?
I like Starship Troopers.
There you go. See? So
classic.
Very, very nice. Nicole is in the chat. Hello, Nicole. Nicole is very polite, saying hi to all our friends. So that's fantastic. Andrew, what's up, y'all? We have a nice group of folks in the chat. Excellent. Yeah. So before we bring some folks in, I heard you went shopping today.
I did. Yes. My wife told me we were going out for Star Wars Day. And
wow.
And I had to get some stuff.
Where'd you find her?
Well, we'll see. All right. For the baby, of course.
Sure, of course, for the baby.
Yeah. Little Grogu Build-A-Bear. So if you guys haven't been to Build-A-Bear lately and you want to spend an insane amount of money, any You can get the little bowl for him with a little frog,
The
little frog
force is
soup.
strong with this little one. Oh,
Yep,
nice.
of course that's for the baby because Star Wars is for kids. And then
43-year-old kids.
yes,
Oh, nice. Darth
also
Bear.
also from Build-A-Bear. And he if you do it just right, he has his asthma. I knew he wasn't going to work when I tried it. He breathes. I swear to God. Anyway, it's a pain in the ass to make him breathe. You can get both those at Build-A-Bear. I'm not trying to sell for them, but you can get 2 for $45 at Build-A-Bear, and it's worth it. And so this one's. I think you'll especially enjoy this one. Since I've been watching the Shogun show, I've been binging that.
Okay.
I saw this.
Oh my God! Look at that.
Yep.
Very
And
unique.
he lights up. I need to get some batteries for him.
Oh,
But the lightsaber lights up,
very nice.
and it's terrifying.
It is.
But
It almost looks, he almost has like a little bit of an Aztec thing going, but a little Japanese.
yeah,
Very frightening.
yep. So it's one of the sideshow collectibles,
Oh, very nice. I like that.
and yeah. So yep, we had a good time shopping about today.
Excellent.
And yeah, said I was gonna spend some money. Did you buy some stuff too?
I did buy some stuff. There is if you guys remember Ralph McQuarrie, he did some drawings for Star Wars.
If they don't know what Star Wars Day is, they might not know who Ralph McQuarrie is.
Yeah. But I got this concept series Darth Vader Funko.
Oh, I love those. Yeah,
That's nice. Oh, then I think no, that's something else.
the Han Solo one's good, and
Yeah, the Han Solo one's good. We're actually going to. I got this, but we're going to give it away. I'll show you guys. We'll talk about how to win this Micro Squadron Poe Dameron X-wing.
oh,
They're really cool. The Micro Squadrons.
Yeah.
I got the Tidarium shuttle.
oh, nice.
TIE fighter. You can never have too many TIE fighters.
I agree.
So we'll towards the end of the show we'll show you we'll tell you how to win this. I love giving stuff away. We're also going to I got in some new stickers, so we'll put some stickers in a swag pack. I've got some of these other Star Wars micro collection ships, which were really cool. We'll throw in a couple of those. I'm not giving this away, but this will give you a hint as to who is waiting backstage. A signed Dominic Pace little action figure, and I think it's a little Lego, but it's signed by our friend Dominic. Haven't seen him since the last time we did Scarif Con, but it's a wonderful piece.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We were talking to Sean, and he really wants to get his hands on the comic book series that Dominic had commissioned, which I'm not sure. When we bring him out, we'll ask him if that is still available, but he really was gung-ho about trying to see if he can get that that series. It's awesome. What else do I so obviously we're celebrating 25 years of Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. I was able to find this at my local store. Do you guys remember this?
Which one is that? The Glare. Oh, is that Pod Racer?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And
that thing used to break so easy.
Yeah, I think it still does. That's why.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a cool little design.
It's a cool toy though.
This is where Anakin, little Annie, sits. Now this is pod racing. I was going to say that WSTR usually says, "Now this is podcasting." I almost said that. But
really, those pod racers are the most like George Lucas things in the movies.
My God, I was going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, with his obsession with classic cars and
speed,
sound effects. Yeah.
So that's pretty fantastic. I like that. But we got a couple of people in the chat and some new people joining us. Thank you very much for joining us here on the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast. We have a few people backstage, and any other show and tells before we take a little sip of the.
I don't have it over here, but why didn't y'all tell me there was a new Star Wars trading card game? I don't think you play those, but there's a new one called Star Wars Unlimited, and I just bought some of those and looking forward to playing that. It's like Magic the Gathering and Pokemon, those type. Now they have Lorcana for Disney.
But
nice. Now there's it's called Star Wars Unlimited, and apparently it's pretty good. And had to get a play mat today, of course, and I got a TIE Fighter play mat, which is around here somewhere.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah, I look forward to playing that.
For cards, you got to ask Greg over at Rebel Base Card. Thank you, patron, for your support. Yep. But absolutely. All right, so let's refill our adult beverage. We'll come back in 51 seconds. Until next time. No, it's not the end. It's only the beginning, sir.
Vote Palpatine Vader.
This podcast is a member of the Red 5 Network. For more Red 5 Network podcasts and content creators, visit bio.link/Red5.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
And we got a full house here at the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast. Dominic Pace and Jesse from Crusher Conversations. It's a Star Trek podcast, but we are, as Danny from Comics and Cosmetics would say, we are nerds of many denominations. Welcome, Jesse. Welcome, Dominic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Dominic, I don't think you've actually met my co-host. Every time you came on, he was not available. He was out to sea. So Dominic, Brad, Dominic.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, he was like, hey, we didn't get somebody else on. I'm like, can we get Dominic, please? Because like you said, every time I was otherwise disposed, the Navy tends to do that to you. But I'm very happy to meet you.
Well, thank you for your service and pleasure to meet you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Happy Star Wars Day, everyone. Orthodox Star Wars Day, as our friend Scott Rifen would say. We're going to ask a couple of questions, but I wanted to give both you guys an opportunity to say hello to the chat, give them a message, or just find out what you guys are up to. I'm going to go with Jesse first. I know you just recently had a show, and that was great. Tell us a little bit about your content and what you have planned and what you just did.
Yeah, so my podcast is Crusher Convo, which is a Star Trek podcast where we deep dive episodes and theories and character developments through the eyes of Beverly Crusher. And the episode that just dropped yesterday was the top best outfits of Beverly Crusher, because even though they were in the 24th century, they were pretty 90s, if you ask me. So we definitely had some fun with it. I had the guest Abby from First Flight Podcast, and yeah, we had a blast. And next, I believe I'm going to have Josh from Twist My Arm. We're going to talk about Star Wars and Beverly Crusher. And then I'm going to have you, and we're going to talk about Deep Space Nine. So I'm really excited about the month of June. There's very exciting stuff happening.
Excellent. June is awesome for us too. We've got some great shows and topics planned, but it's wonderful to connect with other content creators, and it's just a one big happy nerd family. Isn't that right, Dominic?
Yes, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. Still is for you guys.
It still is. It still is. I was what year was it? It was 2 years ago that you were here in Chicago. We had a blast at Murray's Caddy Shack. We sold a lot of mugs. I bought a lot of things. But you had a wonderful world tour, like the what was it, like the second one?
Yeah. Oh God, it must have been the third. I mean,
right.
Yeah, Lucasfilm was they were definitely kind enough to give me loosen the leash. I think unlike any other situation with any other performer, especially one that got 6-second screen time, they were pretty generous in terms of allowing me to run with the brand, and I was very grateful for that opportunity. Of course, the opportunity to meet all of you and to visit all 50 states and to be with my sons. It really was a once in a lifetime opportunity, but happy to have moved on in many ways and worked in other areas of the field, and theater, and then also back to television with other shows. But it was really just amazing memories there for 3 years. And yeah, it's unfortunate, but I just got a nice email there. That was nice. You mentioned Star Wars Unlimited. Somebody sent me one of the cards, and I guess Gecko made an appearance on one of the the cards. So
very nice.
So we're still putting along with these guys, but again, it was time probably about a year and a half ago to say goodbye and to get back to my career. And a lot of good things have happened since. So, but to miss you guys and love everybody. I was kind of time to remove myself, and get off the stage.
Sure. And we mentioned the wonderful mugs that you brought along with, and here is your character. Obviously, there you go. These mugs are great. And again, I'm one of those collectors that keeps stuff in the box, but that's the reason I bought 2 of these.
Wrong.
One to keep in the box and one to use. But absolutely, these are great.
Yeah, I mean, I think similar to Power of the Force from '85. I don't think there's any other collectible where such a side character that really was not official got any kind of official appearance other than that. So I think it's definitely something to hold on to for sure. And I see some of the eBay prices with some of the stuff. It's been skyrocketing, and not to anything that I've had to do with it. But again, that was the point, was to make him sort of the rare Pokemon in many ways, and hopefully develop a story at some point. But yeah, as far as this, I mean, I think it's very unique for those who collect for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So, I just spent an exorbitant amount of money on Star Wars Unlimited, so hopefully I pull that card.
Please.
And I'll let you know. But since we haven't had a chance to speak, I know you probably spoke about this with Ro, but it's Star Wars Day, so I want to take it back for a second. And since this is the right day for it, I know you say you're past it and all that, but I want to hear about your feeling when you knew you're going to be part of the Mandalorian and part of the Star Wars universe, when you found that out for the first time, because I think everybody probably needs that feeling right now.
Well, thank you. I mean, really, it was a different era too of Star Wars, to where everything was really still fresh. I remember being on set and seeing a baby. Again, I mean, many know this story, but just not knowing what the baby was. I was so excited to think that this was going to be a backstory for Rey. The understanding that this was, a new network altogether with Disney Plus, and the potential that I felt that it was going to have at that point, I mean, really was off the charts. Not to mention, even now, I'm dying to get to Vegas to experience, even as a fan myself of the Sphere. There's a movie called Postcards from Earth, if any of your listeners have seen it yet. But just to see that LED screen in person, and I've seen it on other sets already. Since then, the technology combined with Filoni and Favreau, who I've just been was just such a huge fan of, and I owe him a lot. I mean, now knowing that, I think he really was the man behind allowing me to have so much freedom with being part of the fan base again, and not being a part of the cast, more or less. It was just a magical experience, and again, it was hard not to have that sort of Willy Wonka experience, to where, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the wheels were churning from day one, just thinking about the potential, not only as a diehard Star Wars fan, but also as an actor, in terms of the level of intensity that I thought I could bring to this character for future episodes. And also, my expertise, which was loving people, and to be part of a community that really has a tremendous amount of love and generosity. So the wheels were just churning beyond belief, not to mention having to keep that a secret for an entire year. It was just beyond words. And again, from 2019 to probably the last few days there with Murray's Caddyshack with Ro, and so many amazing people who've been so supportive. It just was a dream come true. And again, I mean, of all things, how symbolic to have a tiki mug of all things to sort of be the icing on the cake to finally get that official licensing, which I was really, I mean, it was very much sought after by me, and at the same time trying to get this character off the ground. But a dream come true. Manhattan Beach Studios down there where you know I auditioned numerous times for CSI Miami, and then also not to mention now to be alongside the late Carl Weathers for an entire week, and just to be so inspired by his professionalism at that age to do 14 hours a day. It's different for someone like you or me, but for someone like Carl, it just even speaks volumes now at not only that performance that he gave, but also his body of work throughout his lifetime.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll say something to you that I've heard plenty of times in my life. That was a fantastic 6 seconds. So,
yes, thank you.
So thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about professionalism. I mean, we saw you in Chicago twice. You basically went around the world, not just to the continental US. You had other visits. You went all over the place. Here's a shot of you somewhere. I don't know. I just grabbed this picture from Reddit. But you were going until you couldn't go anymore. Literally. I mean, you almost, thank goodness you didn't, but you were, you were in danger there towards the end. But it just shows, I guess, a little bit of your love of not only the franchise, but of all the people that came to see you. And we saw a lot of pictures, not only from Chicago, but just from other places that you were. I mean, people were lining up and just really, connecting with you in the character. I mean, that I think is, in a nutshell, it's wonderful to see Star Wars fans connect all over the world. It's a reason that we're still talking about Star Wars, 47 plus years later, today, May 25th, in 2004, versus 1977. Nobody knew what this movie was going to be like, but it literally changed the world. It changed the lives of so many people, me included. Obviously, everyone that's in the chat, everybody around the world, we're celebrating Star Wars. We have been for the last, couple of decades. It's such an amazing experience to be not only to be a fan like us, but for us to be able to, even talking to professional people that are in the business of acting, and then like you said, having touched the franchise in one way or another is just fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, it was bittersweet. I was obviously emotionally and physically exhausted. I mean, that was a campaign, as many people know, of 2.5 years. And again, we saw our rewards along the way. They allowed me to sing the national anthem on Star Wars Day for the Tampa Bay Rays, and also the Canadian national anthem for the Toronto Blue Jays. And again, just allowing me, I think everybody knows how strict Disney is and Lucasfilm. It's just, I did want more. But at the same time, I mean, I probably reference it once every couple of weeks with my sons, Bennett and Dante, about one memory or the other of places that I never would have seen. Even though I've gone back to theater and I'm on the brink of touring pretty soon, there's never going to be the same where my sons are now moving on with their lives with high school and college. So it was just absolutely priceless. Of course, we wanted more from it, but again, who knows? I mean, it's the beauty of this industry. It's the beauty of the expansion of the series, and again of those rare characters that end up popping in one way or another. But I'm just so grateful to the fan base, because without you guys, this really would have been absolutely dead at the doorstep as soon as I got to Vegas. So thank you.
That's awesome. So we're gonna take it back for the entire conversation and go back to the first movie we saw. Jesse, couple questions for you. What was the first Star Wars movie you ever saw, and then what were your feelings when you saw it, and then and this will be for both of you, but we'll start with Jesse. What's the sticking power of Star Wars? Why are we still talking about it this many years later?
So I don't mean to make you guys feel old. Okay? I was born in 85. So the whole reason why I know about Star Wars is because of my mom and my brother. And it was always because my brother, I remember telling this to Ro when I was on the show a while back. My earliest memory, I'm like 2 years old, and my brother has a basket on his head, and he's going like, Luke, I am your father, and I'm laughing, right? And so it was those moments that he loved it, and so then I loved it, and it just carried on. And my mom, though, she had amazing stories that we just thought was so cool, because she went and saw the movies when they came out. So she was there pregnant with my brother in 77, and then she was there with my brother as a toddler in 80, and then my brother was a little bit older in 83, and my sister was kind of mixed in there somewhere. But yeah, so it's a generational thing. Like, it started with either our parents or like you guys as kids, and you carry it on because it was different. It was totally out there. I mean, yeah, we had Star Trek in the 60s, but it was Star Trek's over here and Star Wars is over here. Totally different stories, totally different effects. And I think that also has people talking about just the scrolling alone. Everyone was fascinated with, just seeing the opening of A New Hope, or Star Wars, since that's what it was at the end. It was new, and that's what people keep talking about. I think even movies like, I'm a Jaws fan, and we keep talking about, as much as simplistic Jaws is, it's because of how Steven did it. He was able to let it impact us for a lifetime because of how he did it, that it was scary. Even though now you kind of like, okay, we could totally tell it's a fake shark, but the suspense and all that stuff, it carried with us. So I think that's why Star Wars really impacts even to today. My daughter, she'll be 16 this year, and instantly when, Force Awakens came out, I had her see Star Wars and everything, and she just was just fell in love with it, that she was just walking down the street with a Vader mask on her face and people were honking horns and waving, because everyone knows Star Wars and everyone loves Star Wars. So that, I think, is what makes it, just important. It's family, right? It just carries with us for a very long time.
I love what you said about it being generational. I think that's a huge part of it. Dominic, what do you think?
Well, he was just so ahead of his time. I was 5. And then also when you see it as a child, it's bigger than life, because the world you haven't discovered yet. But even in the 80s, I remember I just went back. My son and I read the book for the first time, Logan's Run. And the reason this is relevant is it basically shows special effects of what it was like before Lucas, and then when Lucas came along. And even though Logan's Run, they gave a great stab at it, it was just apples and oranges between that and then obviously what Lucas was able to bring on screen during that time. I don't think anyone saw anything like it. So from a 5-year-old perspective, combined with these amazing performances from the big 5, you had Billy D and James Earl Jones, and obviously the 3, the stakes were so high. And again, when you're that age, 5 or 6, and you're in a packed theater, the intensity is just beyond belief, not to mention Empire, which is the foundation, in my opinion, of Star Wars, combined with obviously the mythology, which translates to both men and women in regards to believing in yourself and doing the best you can. So I think that really sums it up for me. It was when it hits you when you're at that young age, and especially in a packed movie theater, it was beyond words. I mean, obviously we had E.T. at that time, shortly after, and of course some fun rides of the Goonies and Back to the Future, but this, we're talking 1980, 81. It was so ahead of its time. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, you mentioned the fact that obviously we said it was generational, the ability to look at yourself and be hopeful. And I think George Lucas recently got an award, and he sat down and he started talking about Star Wars and his experience in the early years, et cetera, et cetera. He says that Star Wars was made for 12-year-olds, but I think, there's a little bit of there's a lot of debate. Is it made for kids? Is it a kid's movie? Is it a child's movie? A 12-year-old? What do you guys say about that? Is he literally talking about 12-year-olds, or do you feel like there's something else there? Because I mean, I was like, I was 8 years old when I saw it. It affected me profoundly in so many ways. But I had posted a response to that earlier today, that it's made for young people because of the self-discovery that I think George Lucas had implanted in the messages of Star Wars. And it's not like a kids movie per se, like Garfield is a kids movie, but it's a kids movie or a young person's movie that gives you the ability to think about yourself and your place in the world and what is happening. Obviously, during the 70s, we had, stuff like Watergate and the Vietnam War and Kent State that happened earlier. So young people were kind of fed up with society. And George said, you know what? I'd like to maybe, create something that inspires, young people to be better, to be, to look inside themselves, to look for that new hope. See what I did there? But what do you guys think about that?
I think it has a double meaning. I think it's everything that you said, but also even going to the current directors today. And again, I mean, I could add my criticism to some of the current content. I think they're all just exhausted of criticism. As an artist, I mean, you put yourself out there, and it's going to be liked, it's going to be hated. But I think it's also a way of sort of just pushing away all of the nitpicking, which again has a lot of merit. But I mean, most of us as fans, you don't want to listen to it. We can, obviously embrace our own criticism of it, but also he had to face a tremendous amount from the original trilogy to the prequels. So I think it's also a way of him just sort of, I mean, they're bringing up everything now from gender and race and storyline. He's just probably exhausted, as is probably the current directors, to where you just have to respect them, and that, they whether you like it or not, they're putting out what they feel is the best. And I just think the price to that is also all of the tremendous amount of criticism now, because it's just such a internationally popular a franchise like Star Trek and like Marvel, to where you're just not going to please everyone. So I think it's also, it's everything that you said, but it's also just to push away and just wipe his hands clean at the age that he is, just dealing with all the, everyone saying, well, this would have been nice if this went this way, or vice versa,
Yeah. Brad, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I was going to say there's nothing more childlike than killing an entire daycare. So, I mean, it's definitely just for kids. But Jesse, what do you think?
No. How do I go after that? Well, here's the thing. I think so. Like when my mom first saw it, she was 19. Okay, so she wasn't 12, but she was still young.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't like my grandparents were watching it at that time. They're just like, whatever. So technically it was a kid's movie. I mean, you guys saw it as a kid.
Sure.
My mom was very young, but because it impacted you guys so much, same with me, even though I saw it later, it carried with you guys with us up until adulthood, and we're passing it on. So I think in that sense, it's correct. It was made for kids in that part, but it impacted us in a way that I don't think they expected, for us to be adults now and still carry and talk about it. And, like I do with my podcast, where I am kind of peeling back the onion of, more of the character traits and more in-depth conversations, instead of just watching an episode and being like, okay, here's the next one. We're really deep diving into it. And that's like what we're doing with Star Wars. We're deep diving all these little things about how impactful it is and how we can learn from it, all of that stuff. So I think in a sense that, yeah, it was right, but we were all kids once. And so,
Sure.
that's just how it is. And so, yeah, I think that's just what
Yeah,
it did.
absolutely. And what a blessing it was, really, in disguise, that George Lucas didn't get the licensing rights to create Flash Gordon, because he just said, you know what, I'll just make my own.
Right.
But absolutely, at the time it was like, we've got the real Sean Crummer's comment. George, I think, wanted a new mythology for people to grow up on. I feel like a lot of that idea has been lost, and I you might argue that with some of the new stories, yes, but it's we won't go that route. But speaking of Sean Crummell, he is backstage. I'm going to add him to the mix. Sean, how you doing, sir?
I'm great. How are you?
Fantastic, fantastic. Sean is a artist friend of mine. He's got an Etsy shop, and he does some amazing work. He's got his own comic book line that is going to be handled quite well as it gets off the ground.
Hopefully.
Crossing my fingers, Sean. But we're talking about Star Wars and its deep impact when it comes to pop culture and nerds like ourselves. You had a question a couple of months ago that I wanted to pose to you now that you are sitting here in our citadel. Being a Star Wars fan was looked upon in a weird way back in the day. We all were like closet science fiction fans. Nobody wanted to admit
Yeah,
that
man.
we liked Star Trek, that we liked Star Wars, that we were geeking out on the sci-fi stuff. And now, like it's like everybody wants to be a Star Wars fan. Everybody wants to be a nerd. First of all, what is up with that? But second of all, I posed the question to you: did the nerds win, or is there still something missing from that movement of everybody wants to be a nerd?
Sir, I think long term the nerds are going to win in the end. I asked you a question several months ago, also saying when science has provided all of our answers or provided for all of our needs, where are we going to be as a species to dream? And what will science fiction be in the future when all of our answers are answered, or all of our questions are answered?
Sure.
So I don't know what to make of that.
And that's a great question too. And I think maybe Jesse might be able to touch on that, because I think Star Trek has probably more science fiction doodads and inventions and concepts that actually have become reality. And things like flip phones that we have, personal access digital devices that we have in our pockets, things like that. We don't have transporters or warp drive yet, but I'm sure that's around the corner. But Jesse, what do you think about the technology in science fiction that comes to fruition in the real world? Even the biobeds from Star Trek. I think I read somewhere that the Army has similar tools where you just lay a soldier on the bed and it gives you all this diagnostic, all this stuff like that. So Sean's question,
let's not talk about military medicine. Let's there you go. Let's not go there.
Brad.
But
when science fiction kind of enters the mainstream and it gives us all the stuff that we were dreaming about as a child, where do we go from there?
Well, it's interesting because I think that's basically where it all started, right? So Gene Roddenberry had this vision of like, what if we did have iPads, okay? Or what if we did have some kind of ways of communication, things like that. And so, of course, scientists and anyone who was inventing later on, they took that and was like, we can do this, right? There is a possible way of doing this, which was exactly what Gene wanted. Like, this is hope for the future. This is exactly what we're going to have later on. And I think that was the inspiration for a lot of that stuff. I mean, I'm still waiting for a replicator just so I don't have to cook at the end of the day. But,
right.
I could wait a little bit longer. But like you said, there are now technology. Like, I'm wearing a watch that is, find out what my heartbeat is. Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, the way that technology has jumped, especially over these last 20 years, like if you look at the next generation, it was all very 90s. Okay. And the stuff that they were trying to do, they were like, oh, it might look like this in the future. 20 years later, we're having iPhones and iPads, and, we're doing all of these crazy different special effects on television, which was probably blew George Lucas's mind, which is why he went a little too much in the prequels. But it's just a smidge. But the thing is that is what they were inspired from the get-go. They had an
Mhm.
idea and they ran with it, you know.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
Star Trek, Star Wars, that was kind of the start of it to carry on what we are now seeing today.
So I'm not sure if you. I can't remember which scientist it was. One of the top scientists. I remember. I think he put it best where he said, "Science equals science fiction plus time." And I think it's as
Yeah.
easy as that. And so to
Yeah.
go back to what Sean was saying and the question he was posing, as long as humans have an imagination, which will be always, science
Right.
fiction will always be ahead of science. We dream it first, and then we find the information and the inspiration to make it a reality. So I don't think we'll ever get to some point where, hey, we've run out of ideas and now we're stuck here. But Dominic, we were talking about George Lucas a little bit ago, and his vision and stuff like that. And there's been some stuff lately about there's a bunch of stuff on Twitter today. The possibility that people have been talking about since he sold it to Disney, the possibility of him coming back to Disney. So kind of a multi-part question for you. What are George's biggest contributions? You already hit on a couple of them earlier. What are George's biggest contributions? From a big standpoint, from a grand standpoint, and is there a spot for him anymore in Star Wars, or has he passed that torch and should it just stay that way? What do you think, Dominic?
I mean, obviously the contribution was, first of all, he was, it was an original concept at the time. So, you're going in with that to where obviously everything that he touched, in my opinion, was just golden because it was fresh and it wasn't oversaturated. I think the problem now, just personally, and again, not to be Debbie Downer, but this goes for Marvel, this goes for Star Trek. It's just half the audience right now, I think, is having a very difficult time. I think the best analogy would be to like Avengers Endgame, where a lot of us almost, got that satisfaction. You can even say, even if you liked episode 9 of Star Wars, that, okay, this is the button on this franchise, this storyline, and half the audience is ready to explore different, areas of the franchise and the universe, and others are like, God, I think, this was just a perfect arc, even like Lord of the Rings from 1 to 6. So whether it's him or any other creator right now within these 3 franchises, I just, my heart goes out to them, and I just could be just getting old, but I just am having a hard time finding the unique magic that drew us to it to begin with. So whether he comes back or it's any other creator, Filoni or Taika or whoever, my heart just goes out to them. I mean, personally, I've gone back to books to where I'm looking for that high in terms of a creative concept, and just for me, it's just been really few and far between. The last one that really put me out of my boots was a movie called The Menu, which I thought was just so unique and creative. But it's just, it just takes a lot for me. Just, I think the older that we get, and it could be for this generation too, when they turn 49, 50, et cetera, to where you're just, you're just sort of at a loss. Like you said, where do we go from here when sci-fi has sort of become a reality? I feel like it's the same with content right now, because again, my heart, I think it's awesome that people are really engaged in the new content, but I personally, it's just, I just feel like he really had that beautiful nectar from, even if, I'll even take 9 series plus Mando season 1 and 2, but then it's just like, for me, I'm just like, okay, what else? I want to see something different. I want to, Midsummer really blew me away in terms of a daylight horror film that just was so incredibly creative and creepy, but that's what I'm searching for now. And I just feel like the direction they're heading, whether it's Lucas taking over or anyone else, it just feels like a lot of repetition right now, So I hate to be a negative downer to that, but the good silver lining is my heart. I'm so supportive of people who find the interest in some of these, these new series and stuff. But what a challenge they have to sort of make this fresh and new,
Sure.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I was just talking to a friend today where we're going through things, and he's just like, I'm so tired of everything. it took me forever to get through the New Jedi Order series of books. It's 19 books, a couple of comic stories, and some other written stuff. And it ends with the Skywalker and the Solo family having like basically a Thanksgiving dinner, and they're all so happy to just still be alive. And I'm like, this is where Star Wars ends for me. If anyone wants to keep it going, I don't know if I can keep going with it, but this is wonderful. So if you have to pick your endpoint and say I'm okay with the story ending here, they can do whatever they want with it. I'm happy as far as this goes. Like that's wonderful to me. Like, and as I get older, I'm like, there's like a transition where you're like, I'm young and I need to express an opinion. But then you get older and you're like, it's fine. You like what you like. I like what I like. It's all good.
And that's the inherent aspect of continuing to create content that spans decades.
Yeah.
In 3 years it'll be 50 years, half a century of Star Wars. And there's not only are the movies out there, you've got books, you've got novels, games, you've got content in comic books and television shows, streaming shows, all sorts of shows. So it is no longer just George's 6 films. There are other voices out there that contribute to this galaxy far, far away. And Sean, you and I have from time to time we have this wonderfully deep conversations about the overall aspect of Star Wars and what does it mean in universe, and actually what does it mean to us out here as fans. And I think because Star Wars has spanned so many generations, I think it means a lot to a lot of different people. I just dropped an episode talking about how Star Wars is generational, and it definitely is. Episode 1 was re-released in theaters, and you see moms and dads taking their little kids. I mean, every time you go to see a Star Wars, there are multiple generations. You see grandpas and kids and stuff like that. So when you peel back the angry YouTuber comments, I mean, Star Wars really it speaks to a lot of people, whether it's the original trilogy, whether it's the prequels, the sequels, etc. There is something about what George created that is definitely special. And I'm gonna, I'm also gonna comment on, we recently had a new Indiana Jones movie where people were saying that there's some magic that is missing in that as well. And for me, it is kind of, it's a combination. Harrison Ford, Dominic, one of your favorite actors, obviously we talked about that for forever. We've got the combination of Harrison Ford, Steven Spielberg, George Lucas. I mean, that's the trifecta of Indiana Jones. And when one of those ingredients are missing, I feel like it's no longer Indiana Jones anymore. It's a shame that all 3 of them didn't kind of get together kind of to make a 5th one. And I know early on that was the plan. They wanted to make 5 of them. Who knows what happened, but it's unfortunate. I think for me, George Lucas, besides the story of Star Wars, I think as everybody knows, I'm a big proponent of technology. I love that George Lucas and Lucasfilm have pioneered a new way of telling stories through digital editing, digital cinematography, audio design, all the behind the scenes stuff that Lucasfilm and ILM have developed. I think these are tools that have been democratized. We all mentioned that we've got, these amazing, cameras in our pockets that we can do almost everything. And
Blue
it's
screen.
amazing. Right.
Green
Blue
screen.
screen. I'm an old television guy. It used to take, 7, burly men to do green screen in the studio. Now you just put up a green screen and have a halfway decent light, and you're ready to go. So yeah, I mean, George Lucas, for all the conversations out there, I think his legacy cannot be understated or overstated. Sorry. It's just fantastic, and Star Wars is just one a bit of a tip of the iceberg to his contributions.
Now,
You
I
know-
have a question. As
Go
you
ahead.
were talking, Ro, I have a question. Why do you think that there is? Because we always make a joke about how the Star Wars fans are just like the worst, right? There's always just fighting and nitpicking and things like that. And as much as Star Trek community is pretty well, it's nice. There are those fans that are like, "Oh, new Trek, that is not Star Trek," and they're starting to even attack the actors about it. And it's like, what? I don't understand why there's just so much negativity when this is supposed to be about, uh, growth and being a better person and everything like that. The whole Luke Skywalker was his journey through his life.
And that's funny because Star Trek, if we're going to talk about Star Trek is all about being a better you.
Better person. Yeah.
Probably more so than Star Wars.
Right.
But I get your point.
I don't understand why that some fans are just so passionately negative and attack other fans if I don't know. It just seems just so weird to me in that sense. I mean, I am not a fan of the prequels. Absolutely not. But it's part of the story. I'm not dumb. I know that those stories are important. There's a reason for those stories. I just don't think that it was executed very well. I did like episode 3, but I'm not bashing about it and tagging George Lucas or the actors and be like, how dare you? I don't understand why the hostility is so strong.
I think
they should keep it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, they should definitely keep it to themselves. But like I said, going back to what I said was, just in terms of the repetition of some of these franchises to where, I mean, I think Harry Potter's a great example too, where it's like after part 3, it's like, oh, Harry's in trouble. Okay, Harry's in trouble again. Harry's in trouble. Going all the way up to episode 9. So I think that's more of the concern. But yeah, I mean, they should not, be talking to actors or going online, telling other fans that they should hate this, But again, I think it's a really tough situation right now because I feel like there have been so many great stories done, but it's really hard to sort of come out of this and create something unique and creative that hasn't been done already. And I think, a lot of the older fan base has sort of seen, anything where they just want to be wowed again. And I think a lot of these franchises, unfortunately, seem to repeat, just because obviously it keeps so many jobs or people employed to where some of these shows just need to stop, but not Star Trek. I'm not saying Star Wars, but, I did Prison Break. I did season 4. And it was one of those things where the fans were just, just past the point, or even Game of Thrones. I guess there's a lot of criticism towards the last season. I didn't get a chance to see or to get into that. But I think that's it, is just sort of the exhausting one storyline or the other. But again, that should never be shared with other fans or on YouTube or attack the actors. They're just doing their job.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I also offer a suggestion that a lot of fans that have grown up with this stuff over the years, like I had a really solid dad. I would say that I also had a solid fictional dad where I would read the novels throughout the 90s and the comics throughout the 90s, the 2000s, where at some point, I don't know what happened in my brain, Luke Skywalker was always my favorite hero of all time. I had several other comics or books that I was drawn to, but Luke Skywalker was always number one. So I always wanted to be or pattern my life after Luke Skywalker. So if I could be a decent person, I could do the right thing and make the right decision, I would do that. I feel like fiction is also like a very positive, powerful thing in our lives. Mm-hmm. So when I won't say that you're wrong for disliking anything, but I will say there will be a positive, or not a positive, a strong emotional reaction if you're someone like me that grew up having a strong emotional attachment to something. And I don't know that you can help that. Like, if you create a really good story, you're just going to create a positive emotional response.
And connection.
then not everyone's able to deal with on like a sane level. So then when you go online and someone's like, this is great, and it goes against your emotional response, you're going to be like, no, you're crazy, this is terrible. And I think it just speaks to why social media is kind of terrible, but that's just a personal opinion.
Kind of.
Yeah.
So
Let's be honest.
yeah.
It's just people are
but-
passionate and they're gonna respond how they respond. They're not always in control of their emotions. And I agree, like you shouldn't be attacking actors or writers or whoever. It's just at the end of the day, the corporation says we're gonna do this, and that's just how it is.
Yeah. The beautiful news is, I mean, let's talk about also, I mean, outside of Star Wars, how amazing it is when you do get that uniqueness and creativity, like Sixth Sense or Usual Suspects, you know, when it really does work to where, you know, you do find something new. But I honestly feel like that's what a lot of audience is craving right now. And I think that's where a lot of friction comes. But again, like we said, and agree on, that criticism should not be bashing other fans who are genuinely out to have a good time. And you know, really embrace different concepts and a new series. But again, I mean, Hollywood has really gifted us with so many amazing moments in the seats, with those aha moments or something we've seen for the first time. Matrix, obviously, everyone's jaw just dropped. I was probably 26 years old at the time. So, you know, I mean, it's beautiful as well. But again, I think, like you said, somebody said in the chat room, you know, fans are fanatics and they're very passionate. Unfortunately, that fanaticism, or if that's a word, takes it out on other fans for not seeing it their way, you know, and that's unfortunate.
I'd like to quote a great philosopher, Mike Tyson. Social media made y'all way too comfortable with disrespecting people and not getting punched in the face for it.
Yes.
And it's that, to answer the original question, it's all that keyboard courage that people seem to have when they're anonymous and they have a picture that's not them, you know, an avatar, and they're just, you know, just randomly feel the need to you know, shit on people when they just love something. I mean, you know, Ro and I talk trash about The Last Jedi all the time. Sometimes relentlessly, we can't help ourselves, but at the same time, we don't bash, we don't understand it. We're very honest with that. We don't understand the love for that movie, but if you have it, we're not going to bash you for it. That's your thing, you know. So Rose said, you know, mentioned in 3 years we're going to be at 50 years since the original movie. In 50 years,
like Dave said, like Dave from What Does Star Wars Mean to You? Star Wars is going to need a colonoscopy.
Yeah, yeah, we're there. 50 years from now, are we still talking Star Wars? Does Star Wars still have an impact 50 years from now? Or will everything that's happening now, you know, kind of diminish its importance, and will it fade? And will Jesse still have material from Star Trek to talk about, but Star Wars is gone? Jesse, we'll let you start on that one.
And real fast, I want to acknowledge Loki Jarson, who was in the, if he's still in the chat. That actually, that comment was him and I going back and forth on Twitter this morning regarding Star Wars in 50 years. So thank you, Loki, for that.
I don't know. It's interesting because even though we didn't have because we have a lot of material right now with Star Wars, right? All the TV shows and the animated series and things like that. But back then, especially in the 90s, it was just the original 3, right? That's all we were. But we did have the expanded universe, which kind of helped keep us going and, you know, and
scratched
keep
our
us.
itch.
Yeah. And so if there's no more material at all in the next 50 years, we might just be like what it is with, you know, I Love Lucy or like Dick Fit, like those kind of television shows that were very popular. Everyone loves them, but you know, we'll catch it on TV here and there, but there's no podcasts or conversations about them, even though they totally did unconventional things at the time. You know, Lucille Ball was pregnant on TV, and that was unheard of back
Mhm.
then. She broke the barrier in that. So I'm not sure. I do know, like, specifically with Star Trek, because J.J. Abrams had brought it back with 2009 and all the other movies, it kick-started where everyone was interested in Star Trek again, right? And it brought on new fans. So if there's no material, I think it just might quiet down. People will be fans, us grandparents will be telling, back in the day, we had these shows
Right.
telling stories like we did when our grandparents right now are telling us when the first McDonald's was open, those kind of things. But
remember
yeah,
them?
I'm but real quick story. I just came back from California from seeing family, and I was visiting some adopted, I call them my adopted grandparents. They're in their 90s. And he always has to tell the story about when the Del Taco first opened in Barstow
Oh,
every time.
God, I
And
love Del
so
Taco.
my daughter was like, huh? And he's like, I got a story to tell you. I was like, Maddie, you listen, you understand, and you'll just do it, so that kind of reminded me of that. But yeah, I think it just depends if we have stuff to talk about. If we don't, it's just going to probably die out, and we're just going to go on to the next phenomenon.
There's
Yeah.
100 years of stuff. I will do a I Love Lucy show with you if you really want to do it. There's so much
Yeah, let's do
entertainment
it.
that I have not witnessed. I'm 43 years old. There's so much stuff. For a long time, my wife and I had a rule where we're like, what movie do you want to watch? And I'm like, nothing after 1999. So we were watching like everything. If you want to watch an I Love Lucy series, I'll do that with you if you need someone.
And and I Love Lucy's got a great connection to Star Trek, so it
Mhm.
seems like a
says she
wonderful
does.
match made in heaven there. That's amazing. That's amazing.
What do you think, Dominic? Are we still going to be talking about it?
Well, it's funny. I have a confession. I have never seen Metropolis, and I thought that it was beautiful. That I think Coppola has brought it back now, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's got a new movie.
I mean, I can't see, 50 years from now, never. Not appreciating always the OGs. Whether it's Elon Musk with his, his technical side, Steve Jobs, obviously George Lucas, and everything that has been sort of OG. Lucille Ball, for just kind of breaking so many barriers. So I think so for sure. Again, Einstein, the original Tesla, Edison, just all of the pioneers of technology or innovation, I think will always be appreciated in society, unless it becomes so ridiculously narcissistic, which we're heading in that direction. I think we'll still be talking about it.
Yeah.
I think so too. It's one of those. It's like AT&T. It's too big to fail.
Don't use those words around here.
Yeah,
Yeah, we got to talk about the taxation of trade routes. Don't talk about too big to fail around here.
Excellent. Yeah, perfect. So I want to remind everybody at 8:30, head on over to the Red 5 Network channel, YouTube channel. Nicole and Spencer are going to be over there talking a little bit about the Red 5 Reading Club and what is in store for that. Lots of fun here on the Red 5 Network. One last question for the panel, and maybe a couple of announcements. We got 2 announcements. Brad will do one about our PlayStation, and I will do one about our event later this fall. But I'm going to start with Jesse on this last question. What does it mean to you to be a Star Wars fan?
Ooh, what does it mean to me? It means family. The reason why I say that is because as we were just in the chat with Danny and everyone, we were talking about. Well, I was talking about my daughter's first time watching Star Wars, and that to me was more of the bigger impression on me, seeing her watch it for the first time. And so I think that's why there's just that connection of why we just love talking about it. It's just the excitement. I know when I was watching Star Trek for the first time, because I literally, guys, never saw Star Trek until 2022. Never saw an episode, never knew any of the shows, any of that. Finally saw it for the first time. And I had so many Trekkies tell me, I am so jealous that you're watching this for the first time and having that excitement of seeing all this content. I haven't finished. There's like 907 episodes. I'm still getting through it. But I think for it, I would say it was generational, and that's just what it means. It's one of those things where I hold very dear to my heart because I connected with my mom this way. I connected with my brother. It wasn't even just Star Wars, but X-Men, the animated series, was huge for us. Like, we loved watching it together. And that's why watching 97, it's the same impact that I have. So the nostalgia of it, we hang on to those kind of things because it means so much to us. So I think that would be my answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well said. Sean, you are a kindred spirit of mine, and I think we share a lot of love for some of the old nostalgic things. Obviously, Star Wars, the original trilogy is one of them. But what does it mean to you to be a Star Wars fan?
Okay, making sure I'm not muted.
He's like, hold my beer.
It's so much, man. Like, it's influenced so much of my life. Like, in middle school, I played the trumpet in an orchestral band because the soundtrack made me love classical music and orchestras. I started, well, I didn't start drawing. I started drawing because of my brothers, but I drew. I'm still drawing so much sci-fi. It covers my wall, just because I love aliens, man. Like, I had a footstool. I was just telling a friend today. And when I was young, there was a footstool in the living room, and I covered it with Jabba's denizens of action figures. Just I was so wowed by all the variations of designs of characters' faces and stuff. It's basically it's so cheesy to say because we all have that story where we're like, Star Wars defined my life, but it has literally defined my life. It influenced my interest in action figure construction, which I probably should have gone into as a career. At its heart, it influenced me to start writing my own science fiction to the point where Luke Skywalker and his journey, this tattoo is like alien language in my own science fiction story to be a good person and do the right thing. There was just so much heart to it, and just basic truth. It's just influenced every aspect of my life to just be a good person and do the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said.
And Dominic, I hope you get more going on because I share a skunk stripe with your character.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I don't know. Like I said, I mean, one hand, they were so generous, and then the other hand, they slapped me, I think, for good reason. Again, you don't mess with the mouse, but we did. But if I can go, it's taken on a different meaning now, having a personal experience with the franchise, and a more powerful meaning for me as a father. My son's school's here, and again, I appreciate everyone's beliefs, but unfortunately, the schools out here in Hollywood were extremely divisive during the 2020s as far as who succeeds, who doesn't. And what Star Wars turned out to be for me was this example of having zero opportunity, Gecko being his own species, looking different than anyone else, but having a good heart and working really hard, even with zero opportunity in this universe, in creating something out of it. So as a father, it was absolutely amazing to be able to teach my sons the importance of getting off your ass and creating the opportunity instead of a lot of the excuses that lingers in society today. I was so grateful to them to allow me to spread that message, which again had its own movie in itself. The first, in my opinion, a Star Wars movie outside of Star Wars, if they would be ever so bold to create that. But that's the meaning it has for me more as a father. I think, that Lego movie, I think was interesting in terms of having that father-son sort of backstory to all of it. And this was my Star Wars experience with my sons.
Nice.
Absolutely. Yeah. Very nice. Very nice. Brad, what if your son grows up and he likes The Last Jedi? What would you do?
I mean, okay. But anyway, I was about to say, we give the sequels a lot of crap, but one of my favorite lines in, I gotta always remember the name, the episode 9, Return to the Skywalker, whatever,
Rise.
Yeah, Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, that one, Rise of Skywalker. Thanks. But not really a Skywalker. Anyway, my favorite line in that, well, not favorite one, but where Finn is asking Lando, you guys were completely outnumbered. How did you do this? And Billy D, Dominic mentioned, all the great actors, Billy D being Billy D, it says it in the most beautiful way possible. We had each other. And, I get goosebumps just saying that, and you could feel that, that movie was all over the place, but that particular line, you could feel that, we had each other. And, to take it into the real world, I had the opportunity to take my kids to Star Wars Celebration in Orlando a few years ago, and we only went for one day. But I tell you, like, not even stepping through the door, I had goosebumps, and I still have goosebumps just talking about it. I had goosebumps just going in the door, and then it was electric the entire time. And you could walk up to any stranger, there's tables all over the place where you can sit and, look at your merch or get something to eat. You could, a complete stranger there, you could go up and you could talk to them as if you've known them for 20 years because you both love Star Wars. Mm-hmm. Social media is not real life. And I tell this to people all the time. Feel free to get canceled on social media because it's not real. It may feel real. It's not real. That is not the fandom. When you go to something like, Star Wars Celebration or C2E2, Dragon Con, even Scarif Con, that is real life, right? Those are the fans, and that's family right there. And, we talk about the Red 5 family, and it's not just, we're not just saying it. Any one of those people would do anything for you if you ask them to.
Unless they block you.
Well, that happens that's you. But they would do anything for you. And, it's actual family, because we have each other. And, we said it. I don't think it's cliche at this point, but it is family.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to add to that because, so I know we were talking earlier about negativity and things like that and how social media was bad. Like I confess, I was one of those people who was just using that keyboard and that screen to be able to just go after people because I was passionate about certain shows and things like that. As I got older, I was all like, yeah, that was not cool. But it's interesting because as I got more into the Star Trek community, and that was really what it's about. It's a community, and we're all, kindness and hope and all that stuff. When I went to a Star Trek convention, I went to Vegas. It was such a unique experience. As much as the Rio and the people that put it together, it was not that great, and it wasn't very well organized. We didn't care because we were surrounded by other Star Trek fans, and we were, like you said, we would walk up and we would just start talking and tell stories about how much we enjoy, why we love these characters, why we love these shows, and it changed me in a way of just experiencing what just learning to be a better person and just enjoying these connections with people of stuff that you like. So I mean, I definitely pushed that negativity aside because that was just, really tore me up inside, and it just made me bitter and not a very nice person, to this point of where, like, I'm going to be over here where it is just a joy and makes just every day better. Right. So as much as, I don't get to go to a convention every day and see the people that I like, it's sometimes heartbreaking where I'm like, I kind of miss going to a convention, even though it's draining and it's hard and it's expensive, but it's such a unique experience. And it's just so, so great. And I'm blessed to kind of even see, because of what I learned with Star Trek, I see Star Wars almost in a different light because I was so used to that negativity. And now I'm like, just learning to love those little things that I just wasn't paying attention to and appreciating it more.
Sure.
So
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, I mean, we have to step back once in a while and take inventory of ourselves too. Like Brad said earlier, you know, we give the Last Jedi a lot of shit. But if that's what you love, then hey, you know, we'll support your decision. You know, you guys mentioned conventions and get-togethers and things like that. You know, quick announcement: October.
Hey, you didn't answer the question. You got to answer the question too. Nice try.
What does it mean for me to be a Star Wars fan? I think it means everything. Everything that you guys said. But it's you know, and it's one of the reasons that Brad, that you and I started the podcast, to be able to connect with other people, to be able to you know, communicate with the community of other fans. I think we all love Star Wars for one reason or another, but no, you know, the love of Star Wars on this special day is unique to each person. And I think we have to remember that it's not more special than the next one, and yours isn't more special than the guy behind you. I think you know, as corny as it sounds, you know, it is about family, and it is about you know, exploring oneself and being comfortable about it, and then being comfortable with exploring you know, the relationship with other fans. So you know, I think that's in a nutshell. You guys did a wonderful job explaining your love of being a fan. And again, you know, getting back to conventions and get-togethers, October 26th is our 5th annual Scarif Con here in Chicago. So as the date approaches, obviously more details will come, and I hope that everybody listening to this, I hope we see some more friends in the chat. Last 2 years ago, when we had Dominic over here, it was like 2 nights of Star Wars debauchery, my friends. It was an amazing time. We had pizza, beer on Friday night, and then Saturday headed over to Murray's Caddy Shack and had another evening of wonderful Star Wars camaraderie. And I think that is one of the biggest reasons that I absolutely enjoy talking with everybody about Star Wars and all the other geek stuff that we love here on the podcast and as part of the Red 5 Network. Tons of people showed up, and I'm grateful to them for that. And I hope to see some familiar faces again this fall. Another quick announcement. Brad, did you want to stop, or did you want to continue talking about our PlayStation giveaway?
I'll just throw it out there. So we are approaching 200 episodes. In the words of the Grateful Dead, what a long, strange trip it's been. And sometimes I feel like we're just getting started, or like we just started, and you know, but you know, here we are, 200 episodes. To celebrate the occasion, we are giving away a PlayStation 4. I guess everybody hates Sony right now. Get over it. It's a free PlayStation. All you got to do is go to our X or Twitter, whatever you call it these days, pin tweet that has all the rules on there. There's only 3 simple rules. Just, I'm not going to get into them here, but just read. It takes about 5 seconds to read. Follow those rules. You can enter, make an entry every single day, and we will pick a winner on the 200th episode, which is coming up here very quickly. And it's a PlayStation, a couple controllers, and a few games. And I will ship it to anywhere in the continental United States, because Europe is pretty damn expensive to ship to. So I learned that the hard way, because I wasn't specific one time. But anyway, please take a look at our pin tweet. It's a thread, and like the third tweet in are the rules. Do that, and let's get you entered so you can win a free PlayStation.
Absolutely. And if you guys are still in the chat, remember earlier I said I was going to give away this Star Wars Micro Galaxy Squadron Poe Dameron's X-Wing. What I need you guys to do is take a snapshot of you guys watching the show tonight and give us a post on Twitter or your favorite socials, and tell us what your favorite Star Wars fan memory is, and hashtag it That's the Scuttlebutt, and we will select a winner. I'll go ahead and put a couple of stickers in here, and we'll also do some some runner-ups because I've got one of these, a couple of these cool little micro collection squadron ships as well. So remember, put yourself in a picture watching the stream tonight. Hashtag that's the scuttlebutt and tell us what your favorite fan memory is from any of the eras. We talked about being, how cool it is to be a fan. And remember, we've got a Scarif Scuttlebutt hotline. Give us a call and leave us a voicemail over at 773-234-8659. Put that number in your Rolodex. Make it favorite number 5. 5? Why 5? Because of the Red 5 network. That's why. Jesse, thank you so much for joining us here. You, Miss Crusher Combo. Please follow all of us on the panel here. Sean and I do a weekly discussion on the Quantum Leap over at the Price of Reason live channel. So that's a lot of fun. Brad, you and I have to connect. We've got some shows to prep for. And Dominic, thank you so much for your time. I know it's late where you are, I think. No, it's later where we are, actually. But thank you so much, Dominic. What do you have coming up, Dom?
Oh, I just want to answer the question there for Nicole. I just finished up starring in Jersey Boys here in Los Angeles. But Equity Contract, that's sort of the SAG for theater. They won't allow us to do any video just to preserve their ticket sales. It was really frustrating. I played 7 different characters. And I wasn't able to get anything professionally recorded. So they're offering a tour. It's just not enough for me right now. They might come back with a different offer. But just finished starring last December. You can get it on Amazon. It's a Lifetime movie called Secrets of a Celebrity Nanny. It's kind of like a little Hitchcock thing. I thought within its genre, it was actually pretty damn good. And then just had a couple of guest stars last year, one with opposite Gary Cole on NCIS, one on Disney Plus called Chank and Dunk, and then one with Milo Ventimiglia called The Company You Keep. But right now we're up for a film in Hong Kong and South Korea. It's sort of a big brute of a fighter, and we would be shirtless in that, so we'll have a little gecko appearance on the shoulder, and we'll see what happens there. So
that's too funny.
Yeah.
Great stuff. But chat, thank you so much for hanging out with us here on Saturday night, Scarif Live here in the Red 5 Network. It's been a pleasure. Everybody that joined us in the chat and on the panel, thank you so much. Until next time, I am Ro. That is my co-host, the butt to my scuttle, Mr. Brad. Take it away, Brad.
I'm going to say something I don't know if Rose said it in a while. Happy Star Wars Day. Enjoy Star Wars responsibly. And that's the scuttlebutt.